I'm not exactly sure how you follow Billy and then Brendan and then not look like a total fool. So I'll just say this up front. I'm between you and beer, and I know it. So I have a relatively tame deck for what is apparently a controversial topic. So I would like to get through the material and take questions quickly. And if you've got a lot of questions at the end, we can do those at the bar over beer where it's probably appropriate. But as he said, I used to work on JavaScript toolkits. And I worked on JavaScript toolkits because they were sort of plan B. Plan A was that browsers were all going to get better, and we would all get new browsers, and the world would get better. And it would do so pretty fast, right? Browser competition, when it works really well. And the parts of the world that can choose to use new browsers do very well by themselves. They get new features very quickly. But it became pretty clear over the last couple of years that well, we've got another boat anchor, right? So there's this position that has been occupied by many a browser over the years. Netscape 4 comes to mind, where it's not anybody's fault. It's really not. Nobody is proximately at fault for making us have to use browsers or target browsers that we would prefer not to develop for, right? This just seems to be a feature of the world as we have come to inhabit it. But the divergence in capabilities between what we can build and what we would like to build has gone so far off the map in terms of a lot of the stuff that you've seen over the last couple of days. I'm sure you've seen some great presentations about CSS3 and how you can use it to do all sorts of crazy stuff that even if you could do it in JavaScript, it would be so slow or take so much code or take so much headroom out of the application that you were trying to build that it may not make sense for your app. I am very lucky to work on a team at Google that has built Google Chrome Frame. I'm just an engineer on the team. I'm not the tech lead or anything. But I'm grateful to work on Chrome Frame because I think it is a solution, a potential solution, and part of the overall solution to getting us out of this rut. So Google Chrome Frame is, and I'm just going to say this, I'm going to read it out loud. Google Chrome Frame is an open source plugin that lets Internet Explorer users and developers choose to have pages rendered by Google Chrome, and existing web pages work as they always did. Right? Paraphrasing a little, I guess myself. Whatever. Okay, so let's parse that out a little bit. So Google Chrome Frame is a plugin for Internet Explorer. Google Chrome Frame is a piece of C++ code that gets installed onto the client's machine. It runs as a browser helper object, and it does some stuff. This is very much like any other plugin that you've downloaded and installed, say Flash, Silverlight, Java, you name it. It's a plugin, right? But it's got two-sided opt-in like every other plugin. So first, the user has to install it. If the user hasn't installed it, then they get the fallback experience. For most plugins, the fallback experience is tough luck, Jack. Google Chrome Frame is different in that respect. But it's also different in the sense that even if you have content that could be rendered by Google Chrome Frame, I keep stumbling over that. We'll call it GCF. Even if you've got content that could be rendered by GCF, it's going to be a difficult decision to make whether or not we should render it. So we leave it up to you. You as a developer can choose whether or not you would like your content to sort of suggest that it should be rendered in GCF. And if GCF is available and your content says, yeah, opt me in, you're good to go. And the key part of this opt-in provision of the way it's built is that things still work. All right? So there's some set of people, many of whom are in enterprises, that have a lot of money and have real needs to continue to keep their existing infrastructure working. That if you go and you break their intranet, you've done it badly. So the question comes to mind, why not just install Chrome? This is or Firefox, or Safari, or Opera, right? These are great browsers, or even IE8 or IE9, whenever it comes out. Why not just get the latest and greatest? So this sort of comes back to the question of why are we currently in the position that we're in? Why can we talk about the awesome stuff that's in these new browsers that gives us the capability to build really rich applications without a lot of code? Frankly, with a lot less JavaScript than we'd rather, some of us might rather be writing, but certainly a lot less code altogether in order to get the same sorts of things done. Why can't these users just get the latest thing? The answer is, of course, economics. it's costly, it's difficult to transition, and if you have to transition everything all at once, it's going to be even more costly. And in many cases, organizations may not know what the exact cost of that transition is going to be. So saying, dear user, please use this one browser for this awesome app, and then use this other browser for this other app, seems like a suboptimal experience. So you can either, as an organization, transition all or nothing, or you can try to find some side-by-side situation. This is the world that every plugin today currently inhabits. Plugins are a side-by-side option. You can use a plugin and still use whatever browser you choose to render your HTML with. Google Chrome Frame is slightly different in that it takes that same side-by-side approach, but for HTML. So, I think if there's any important part of this talk that I'd like you to take away, it's that Google Chrome Frame is not going to render everything on the world when you install it, and at the same time, it's not going to break your intranet. Okay. I know this seems basic, and I know that this is like sort of like 101 style stuff for Chrome Frame, but I can't tell you how many people I've talked to this weekend and over the past couple of months who seem to have the impression that Chrome Frame is designed to help sort of take over the entire experience or render all the content that you would have. It's instead designed as a transition strategy. So for a lot of users, the right answer will be get a better browser, right? Please, whatever you do, get a better browser. But if you can't, Chrome Frame is our out. So we've designed it specifically not to present users or enterprises with surprises. And developers, you're already pretty surprised. You throw your poor little web page out in a cold, unforgiving world, and it gets rendered by whatever big bad wolf comes along, right? Your web page is at the whim of any browser that happens to have reasonable market share, and you just deal. And this is the beautiful thing about HTML. It's not like POSIX. You can't just write some C program, recompile, and hope it's going to work, and oh, no, there's a slight incompatibility. It doesn't just fall over a segfault. When you write a web page, it's got survivability built in. This is one of the key features that's made HTML and CSS so wonderful, and in my view, has kept XHTML from ever taking over any real market share from HTML. Right? HTML is much more forgiving. It doesn't fail fast. It accommodates for human error, and all of us in the room anyway, maybe except for the exception of Brendan, are human. So Chrome Frame is designed not to surprise us. And it doesn't do blanket rendering. It doesn't give you some magical way to say, I would like everything in the world to now be rendered in the Chrome engine, because we're just not there yet, right? So the essential question that Chrome Frame is trying to solve is how do we get there, right? What are the strategies by which we can get ourselves into a better world where we can start taking advantage of the sorts of things that we've been talking about all weekend? So we've worked to make this as stupid simple as possible. Not to imply that you're stupid, but that when I'm building a web page, and I might be, I want it to be this easy. So this is how you put Chrome Frame, the hint to say, please use Chrome Frame in a web page. It's either a meta tag, so if you don't have control over your HTTP headers, and we know that a lot of web developers don't from sort of long-lived experience of standards bodies going, oh yeah, we should put that in an HTTP header, and people going, but I can't do that. So you can either put it in an HTTP header, and this is the header and meta tag format that was pioneered by Microsoft with IE8. Or again, you can put it in an HTTP header. They're equivalent, they both work, and you can combine these with the IE directives. So if someone doesn't have Chrome Frame and you still like to say, content IE equals emulate IE7, you can still say comma Chrome equals 1 and get whatever experience is available on the user's machine. Right? This is as easy as we could make it. If you have a way to make this easier, please let me know, and we'll try to do that too. But this is how you get Chrome Frame into your pages. Every one of you can do this. Whether or not you should is an orthogonal question, and I hope I'll answer it for you through this talk. But I think the most important part of this is to note what happens when Chrome Frame isn't available. When Chrome Frame isn't available, it just gets rendered like it always did. Right? It may not be great, it may not be awesome, but unlike every other plugin that you've probably built content for in the past, it doesn't fail hard. Chrome Frame is a lot more like HTML than it is like, say, a JVM. If you don't have the JVM installed, nothing's going to run. If you don't have Chrome Frame installed, well, HTML is really survivable. That's great. You can present the user with a fallback experience. Or maybe you can prompt them to go get a better browser. That's a pretty good option. So we've also spent a lot of time trying to make it so that when you want to ask your users to go get that better experience, it's stupid simple for you as well. So there's a Chrome Frame install script that we're hosting on the Google CDN, and you can just throw it in your page. It's one line, 2 lines actually, one line to include it, one line to call it. But when you do that, it can prompt the user and walk them through the install step. Google Chrome Frame today does require administrator privileges to install. So users will have to be local admins on their boxes to do it. Or once we make MSI packages available, administrators will be able to push it out over software update. But if they can install it, it doesn't even require a browser restart to work. So you run through the install process, you get to the end of it, the page refreshes, and if it has the meta tag on it up at the head of the document, or if you serve the HTTP header on the very next page refresh without restarting the browser, you get Chrome Frame. So how does that magic work? So inside of IE, there's a process by which URLs are created, or monikers for URLs are created. Requests are sent out on the wire underneath them, and then the content comes back. There's this sort of layer cake of stuff that's happening inside of IE. And Chrome Frame sits at a couple of locations in that layer cake and tries to be very hands-off. But when you start a navigation, we say, aha, you're sending a URL or a request to the server, and we augment the user agent string so that the server can know that if it's trying to make a server-side decision about what content to serve, that you're observing a Chrome Frame-enabled page. So you can look for the IE user agent, because that's still intact, and then look for the word Chrome Frame in it and know, aha, I can sort of treat this thing like it's Safari or Chrome, right? And when the response comes back, we look at the content that's coming in sort of up front and make a determination. Is this a page that's for us? If so, start up an active document for the Chrome Frame. And if not, just pass it on right through to IE. The details are somewhat more messy than that, but that's sort of the gist of it, right? If it's not for us, you get the regular renderer, and if it is, we take it. So how does, who here actually uses Windows on a daily basis? Wow, that's more than I thought. All right, so for the rest of you, you may not have seen this because you don't use Windows. This is this presentation rendered in IE7. I apologize for the sort of grainy graphics. This is over remote desktop over a VPN, over Wi-Fi. So this page obviously sort of doesn't work because this presentation is all CSS3-ish and HTML5-ish and all of that stuff. So that sort of sucks. But it would be great if we could give people a better experience about, hey, this isn't going to work. So we have a script, the CF install script. So this is my blog, where I don't have Chrome Frame installed in this instance. And at the bottom of the page, there is a small script that, if I go to view source, oh, Notepad, you make me so sad. Apparently, I'm wordy. Why is that? All right. So down here at the very bottom, we have a script tag to include CF install, which is the script that says, hey, here's the prompt for you. And then this could happen at any time. You could just put it in an onload call. But CF install.check says, do I have Chrome Frame installed? On browsers where Chrome Frame isn't supported, nothing happens. The answer is, whatever. You can plug in your own event handler here. You can throw up your own dialog, whatever. There's a built-in one, this overlay mode, where it just sort of shows up on top of the page. And so the user can come in here, and they can dismiss this, and that won't be shown again. They set a cookie. Or they can install Chrome Frame right from here. I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to go and install Chrome Frame sort of the quick and hacky developer way, and come back to the experience. Manually register the DLL. All right. So now if I come back to my blog. All right. This just sort of looks like, that didn't work. I hate it when that happens. I thought this would be faster. I was wrong. Ah, yeah, I'm between you and beer. So this is apparently failing. I'm good at this. All right. So let's say that worked.
Wow.
Goal. You get the exact same page rendered in the exact same UI, except the little part on the inside, not the outside, would just be rendering it inside of Chrome. Most of the time, you actually can't tell. You have to right-click in order to be able to see that you're using something different. And in fact, we take it upon ourselves to treat the experience of that as our job, to make it so that most of the time, you can't tell. We use the same networking layer. So when network requests go out over the wire, we ask IE to service them. We use the same cache. When we pull requests out of the cache, it's out of IE's cache, not out of our cache. We use the same cookies. When we ask for a cookie, we go out to IE and say, give us the cookie. And when we set a cookie, we go out to IE and say, set the cookie. So your cookies, your logins, everything is coherent from the sessions. You can log in a session in the IE side of things, be dumped into a Chrome frame page, and then get dumped into a regular IE page, having set cookies along the way, and it will all work. So the idea is to be completely transparent. We respect the in-private mode, and when you clear your cache, we clear the cache too. So Chrome Frame is attempting to be as seamless as possible in terms of the end user's web experience. Most of the time, we hope they don't notice or care. But for you, the answer will be that you can enable all sorts of features that you really don't have access to right now. So what features are we talking about? I tried to make a quick list of all the stuff that I'd really like to be able to do that I can do in Chrome, that I can't do when I have to sort of build something for the wild, woolly web today. And by Chrome, I mean sort of a shorthand for Chrome and Opera, the latest Opera and the latest Firefox 3.6 and all that stuff, right? Like the top tier browsers. These things are awesome, but I can't do most of what I want. I have to if I want a slider, I have to send like what, hundreds of kilobytes of JavaScript down the wire in order to get anything done. These things block layout, as Steve will happily tell you. These things are not platform native. They don't look like the normal platform controls. So if you're going to make it look like the normal platform controls, that's more JavaScript and CSS that you have to send down the wire. I mean, I could go on and on for all these features, right? New semantic tags. Who wants to use them? All right. ARIA role and state attributes that don't suck because you have to namespace them. Who wants to use them? All right. Find the accessibility dorks. Canvas audio and video. Who wants to use them? OK. This is all the sorts of stuff that we can't really do today. We need either these terrible, nasty hacks to retain some sort of backwards compatibility, or we need to start cutting old browsers out of the discussion entirely. Chrome Frame enables us to get to some of this stuff. And that's just the HTML stuff. CSS is even better. I get to use new selectors, right? Nth child is gorgeous. I want nth child all the time, right? I'm done with like doing a dojo.query for the nth child to be able to set the backgrounds on table cells, you know, for alternating rows. This is terrible. JavaScript should never be in the way here. Gradients, rounded corners, reflections, box shadows, text shadows. All this stuff is actually in this presentation. There's like very subtle text shadowing and box shadowing, and font face, and independent opacity of background and content, and transforms, you know, transforms and animations. This is all being done in Chrome today. Anything you can do here, you can do in Chrome Frame. Now, all this content will work in Chrome Frame. Pointer events. Who knows about pointer events? These things rule. So this stuff came from the SVG world, where you want to overlay something that has sort of a nice presentation over something that's actually going to intercept the form element or clicking or dragging. Pointer events let you put some layer over something else and say, don't respond to clicks. Like, treat it as click transparent or event transparent in the DOM z-index. Holy cow. This is enormous design magic. HBox and VBox for layouts, I can't tell you how liberating this is. Put the floats away, come join us in the future, and start using HBox and VBox for layouts. Your life will never be the same. Text clipping, terrible, nasty hacks to sort of make things, you know, flow correctly, or extra divs in places where you don't want them to get an ellipsis. Just do it in CSS. I could keep going on and on and on. But so this is sort of like the short list of stuff that we can get to start using when we find a way to put down the hacky crack pipe. So the question is, how do we do it? How do we get from where we are with the current state of browsers and the current landscape of deployed technology to making better decisions about the sorts of apps we'd like to build and how we'd like to build them? And so I'd like to leave you, I realize this has been rather short, I'd like to leave you with the thought that Chrome Frame can be a part of the solution. It isn't the whole solution. It's never going to be the whole solution. And it's not intended to be the whole solution. Chrome Frame is designed to be a small part of the tools that you're using to get to a better version of the web faster. We auto-update on the same cycle that Chrome does. So when new features show up in Chrome, they show up there. And the features that show up in Chrome tend to show up very fast in Firefox and Safari and Opera. And when Firefox and Safari and Opera add new features, they tend to show up really fast in Chrome. That tight loop of innovation and competition is great for everybody. Chrome Frame is a way that you can help your users come along for the ride. So today, we're currently in a developer channel preview, as you witnessed by our sexy and awesome demos. It's not exactly 100% yet. The beta is coming very soon. Today, we're focusing on performance and browser fidelity. That experience of everything that worked before should just continue to still work. And Chrome Frame is a tool for you. It's not an end user tool, right? It's incidentally an end user tool. It's something that end users will have to install at some point. But the goal here is to enable you to build better things. The goal is not to sort of get in front of users and sort of own their experience. It's to make HTML a much more competitive platform. And for that to happen, you have to be allowed to build to the very edge of its capabilities. So we need your help. We want to know what you think about Chrome Frame and how you might use it or where you might not use it. So it's an open source project. You can find the project here. And I'd love to hear from most of you, I guess, on the mailing list. So send us mail, talk to me later, and I'll take a couple of questions here, and then we should go drink. Yeah?
So this is the Chrome rendering experience inside of IE, and you said that the host environment for things like networking uses the IE facility.
That's correct.
So what about the quirks that are different between IE and Chrome about how resources are loaded? What blocks what's in parallel? Which one wins?
We're mostly lucky. So the question was what happens about sort of network parallelism, that sort of thing. We are restricted by the HTTP layer in terms of the number of requests outstanding. So if you take Chrome Frame under IE and you put it on Steve's awesome tools, you'll see that we make between 2 and 4 parallel requests a second, and it changes between IE versions. So on IE 8, we get the full 6 or 8. I don't remember what it is offhand, but you can actually see that as the network level gets better. But at the same time, everything that's inside the content area, we still have control over. So when resources come in, we can request scripts in parallel. The fact that there are HTTP requests is sort of something that's at a lower level than whether or not we're going to be able to prefetch resources or do DNS pre-caching. So we can still use a lot of the network level sorts of tricks to make things a lot faster, but we are going to be constrained by that sort of 2 to 4 connection limit on old versions of IE. Great question. Yeah.
When are you going to have it so that do you want to install this plugin? Yes, bam, it's in.
So that's sort of the experience today. Actually, if I go back here and fire up my IE, and this may not work. Actually, no. The DLL is registered. What is going on? Let me unregister this real quick. So the experience today is, if I go to, say, Wave, right? Wave is going to ask me to go and install a better browser or get Chrome Frame. And if I say I would really like to go get Chrome Frame, this will take me to the install page. Accept and install. I trust me. You may not. And in many cases, this is actually several fewer clicks than that. So this download and install process will finish, and then once it's done, Chrome Frame will be immediately usable. You don't have to restart the browser or anything like that. And this is the exact same install flow that we were seeing inside that iframe there. So when you put the cf install script on your page and you say check, and it pops up the overlay, or an open window, depending on how you configure it. This is the install flow that your users get in line. And once we detect that it's installed by sort of polling in the background to see if we can create the ActiveX control, then we just refresh the page. So the goal is to be as seamless and out of the way for the user as possible. Wow, that's great news. I was hoping that would happen. No, that didn't work. Yeah, so it's the exact same install experience, assuming it worked. What did I do wrong? Who did I piss off? All right, let's see if this does it. Oh, did I disable the BHO? I'm a fool. I'm a fool. Enabled. Maybe not. Or we can fake it. We have the developer switch enabled. So this is the exact same page being rendered in Chrome Frame. So for instance, in IE7, you get the web developer tools. This works in IE6. No more alert debugging or using dojo.log or whatever, right? It's all just sort of right there. And more to the point, some really sort of impressive stuff just sort of is going to work, right? So let's see. This is not going to be at full frame rate. But V8 is really fast. This is not WebGL. This is just a canvas. And I apologize that the frame rate is so poor, but it would be much better sort of locally on your box. But this is something that just IE would fall over and die on. This is a matrix math and sort of software shading of a complex 3D transform, all in JavaScript, and then being rendered out, by transform out to canvas. This is the sort of stuff that we can do in Chrome Frame by giving you canvas and giving you a really fast JavaScript engine. Hold on, here's a crowd pleaser. I promise I'll be done in just a second. What is it, acidtest.org? What? Acid tests? Yeah. Acid3.html, I think. Come on. Also, this gets the thanks. That's better. Yeah, it's pretty close. This is the sort of stuff that is sort of enabled just out of the box today with Chrome Frame. We've done some tests on some large internal applications at Google, especially the JavaScript heavy ones. And while we haven't spent enough time tuning performance yet, especially on startup, cold startup, even with cold startup today, we win back all of the time it takes to start up Chrome Frame cold in terms of V8 performance and WebKit performance from IE. We win it all back. V8's so much faster and WebKit is so much faster. Yeah, last question.
Any adoption stats? If I look at the Alexa Top 100, how many of them are?
I don't know that. I don't know that. So Vimeo.com has the meta tag in there. Meebo.com has the meta tag in there. It's super easy to add the meta tag. It's really straightforward. The HTML5 beta for YouTube has the meta tag. So big sites can use it today without a lot of worry. The differential is whether or not you're going to just use it or prompt your users, right? So if you're OK with the fallback experience, you just put the meta tag in and be done, or the HTTP header if you want to be even more reliable and fast. If you want to prompt your users, Wave, I think, is the largest site right now that's prompting. All right, that was the last question. Let's get some beer.